A hush fell over the crowded restaurant the moment the towering Italian man stepped through the front door. Conversations stopped, forks froze in midair, and even the cheerful music suddenly felt distant. Nobody dared approach the sharply dressed stranger whose cold expression and commanding presence made every guest uneasy. The staff whispered nervously, guessing who he might be, while every waiter quietly stepped back. Then, when confusion threatened to turn into humiliation, one ordinary waitress walked forward and spoke a language no one expected, and in a single moment, everything changed. If you believe that kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances can change a life, please take a moment to like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to our channel. Every small act of support helps our community continue sharing stories that remind us the human heart is stronger than fear. The restaurant overlooked a peaceful river, where sunlight shimmered across the water and families enjoyed a warm spring afternoon. It was known for welcoming everyone, from tourists to business executives, but that afternoon carried an unusual tension. Every employee noticed the elegant black sedan stopping outside. A tall man stepped out wearing a charcoal suit tailored with effortless sophistication. His silver watch reflected the daylight, while old scars across his hands hinted at a lifetime filled with difficult choices. His name was Matteo Moretti, an Italian businessman whose wealth was admired across Europe. Few people knew that behind his successful empire stood a family history deeply connected to the Sicilian Mafia, a legacy he had spent years trying to leave behind. Rumors traveled faster than facts. Some guests recognized him from newspaper headlines and immediately assumed danger had entered the restaurant. Others quietly gathered their belongings, preparing to leave if anything unexpected happened. The manager nervously instructed the servers to remain professional, but none of them volunteered to serve Matteo's table. Fear had already made its decision. Only one waitress remained calm. Her name was Claire Whitmore, a young woman whose gentle smile rarely disappeared, even during the busiest afternoons. Most of her co-workers knew she had grown up with her grandparents after losing both parents at a young age. What they never knew was that her grandfather had been born in a small village outside Florence. Every summer of her childhood had been filled with Italian songs, family recipes, and endless conversations spoken entirely in Italian. Those memories had become treasures she carried quietly inside her heart. Claire noticed Matteo sitting alone, staring at the menu without reading a single word. His expression revealed something unexpected, not arrogance, but loneliness. She carried a glass of water toward him with steady hands and greeted him fluently in Italian. The effect was immediate. The hard lines across Matteo's face softened. His guarded eyes lifted with genuine surprise before transforming into a grateful smile that seemed almost forgotten by time. For the first time since entering the restaurant, he looked like an ordinary man instead of someone surrounded by endless rumors. The dining room remained silent as they continued speaking naturally. Guests who had expected threats instead witnessed respectful conversation, quiet laughter, and simple human kindness. Claire helped him understand the local specialties, while Matteo thanked her sincerely for making him feel welcome in a country where he often felt judged before speaking a single word. As the afternoon continued, Claire noticed subtle details that no one else seemed to see. Matteo constantly checked his phone, not for business messages, but for updates from a hospital. His appetite faded each time another notification appeared. Beneath the expensive suit stood a man carrying invisible burdens. Eventually he shared part of his story. His younger sister, Elena, had been seriously injured in an accident during a humanitarian mission overseas. She had devoted her life to helping children despite the dark reputation surrounding their family. Matteo had traveled across the Atlantic searching for a specialist who might save her life. Every hour mattered, yet everywhere he went people treated him like a criminal before learning who he truly was. Claire listened without judgment. She understood what it meant to carry pain caused by circumstances beyond one's control. Losing her parents had taught her never to assume someone else's story from appearances alone. When Matteo quietly admitted that he had spent years using his fortune to build hospitals, fund schools, and distance himself from organized crime, Claire believed him, not because of his wealth, but because his eyes reflected genuine regret whenever he mentioned his family's past. Word spread throughout the restaurant that the feared guest had done nothing except thank the staff and compliment the food. Nervous employees slowly relaxed. Customers who had once stared with suspicion now observed a completely different picture. Children walked past his table without fear, and Matteo smiled warmly at each of them. The manager approached to apologize for the uncomfortable welcome. Matteo accepted the apology graciously, explaining that misunderstanding had followed him for most of his adult life. He said reputation could become a prison even after someone changed their life. Before leaving, Claire quietly packed a small box containing homemade bread and pastries prepared by the kitchen. She explained that hospitals often had long waiting hours, and everyone deserved something comforting during difficult days. Matteo accepted the gift with visible emotion. No expensive present had touched him as deeply as a simple box prepared with kindness. Several weeks passed. Life returned to normal until one bright afternoon a luxury vehicle stopped outside the restaurant again. Employees immediately recognized Matteo, but this time he arrived carrying flowers instead of tension. Beside him walked Elena, healthy enough to smile after successful treatment. She embraced Claire with tears in her eyes after hearing countless stories about the waitress whose compassion had restored her brother's faith in humanity during one of the darkest moments of his life. Matteo explained that the hospital specialist had successfully performed the complicated surgery. During the endless hours spent waiting outside the operating room, Claire's thoughtful meal reminded him that goodness still existed beyond fear and prejudice. That single act had given him strength when he believed hope was slipping away. Wanting to honor that kindness, Matteo quietly established a scholarship in Claire's parents' memory for students studying hospitality, languages, and international culture. He believed understanding another person's language often meant understanding their heart. Claire never asked for recognition, but the scholarship transformed countless young lives over the following years. Students from different countries learned that compassion could cross every border, every culture, and every painful history. The restaurant itself slowly became known not only for exceptional food but for welcoming every guest without assumptions. Employees received language training, celebrated different cultures, and remembered that behind every unfamiliar face might be a story waiting to be understood rather than feared. As sunlight filled the dining room one peaceful afternoon, Claire looked around at smiling families sharing meals together. She realized that one simple greeting spoken in another language had changed far more than a single day. It had healed old wounds, restored trust, and reminded everyone present that kindness speaks louder than reputation. Before this story ends, we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever changed your opinion about someone after learning their true story? Leave a meaningful comment below and share the lesson this story reminded you of. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember, the greatest acts of courage are often the quietest ones, because a single moment of compassion can rewrite someone else's future and leave a legacy that kindness alone could create.